Hey, everybody. Happy Saturday night. I'm Anjanette Levy, and thanks so much for being here with me. I hope you're having a great night wherever you are. Please remember when you come in, please hit that thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications. I've been starting to try to do some videos throughout the week, so keep an eye out for those, just kind of on certain topics, seeing how you guys like those. So please let me know if you like these little recaps I've been doing. I've done a couple on the Sean Combs trial, so please let me know if you're interested in that. I've been kind of looking at that a lot at work, but then again, we've had some other things happening in crime this week. In particular, Lori Vallow, let me tell you, her representing herself yet again in this attempted murder trial conspiracy case involving Brandon Boudreaux. So we'll be talking a little bit about that after we talk about Bryan Kohberger. There hasn't been a ton of news on the Bryan Kohberger front. There's been kind of a lull in the action. I'm sure his team is super happy about that. But we did get some news this week because his defense team is asking that subpoenas be issued for out-of-state witnesses in Pennsylvania. So I'm going to get to that here in a second. I want to give a shout out to the people helping in the chat tonight, the moderators. The docket is here helping out. Thank you so much to the docket. I appreciate that so much. And Mel Mack is here as always. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. I so appreciate you doing this for me. And I'm going to give some shout outs right now to people who are tuning in and joining in. We've got 85 people watching right now, which is exciting. Very exciting, guys. I really appreciate it. And I don't know if you noticed, but I got, I've had this neon A. I ordered this on Amazon a while ago and I've just not unpacked it. But I put the neon A next to the Pope. I thought like the bookshelf needed some more zing. So I'm hoping that adds a little zing. I'm trying to dress up the bookcase, do something different. I don't know if that really goes with the Pope. The Pope may have to kind of move over a little bit, but I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it, trying to dress up the set, if you will. So let's look at who we've got hanging out tonight. Angel D. Hi, Angel D. Looking forward to your take on these documents. They've certainly confused a few YouTube creators recently. Well, I'm going to try to not confuse you. I'm not going to put all of them up. And I almost feel kind of bad putting these people on blast. I really don't want to put them on blast. I really don't. Because these poor people, it's like anybody involved in this case gets brought into this and totally put on blast. And it's just not fair. But I figured out who a couple of them are, and I'm trying to piece together who all of them are, but I also don't really want to put them on blast. So I'll just give you my take on what these documents mean. We'll pull up one of them. No big deal. CH, I'm curious what the Washington filings are. Have seen murmurings on Twitter about their existence. Right. Somebody earlier in the chat said something about that. Somebody earlier in the chat said that Bryan Kohberger filed something in Washington. I'm a little confused about that. I was out and about when that came in. I kind of had like a busy day, went out and did some stuff. So I'm going to have to look into that a little further before we actually start talking about that. I'm Stephanie, says hello from Idaho, land of potatoes and many gruesome murders. Yes, horrible. Stephanie, I am so sorry that happens in your state. If it makes you feel any better, where I live, there have been some horrible, horrible things that have happened too. So, but thank you for joining from Idaho. I so greatly appreciate that. So thank you. Susan B says, hello all. Hello, Susan B. Thank you so much. Angelica Jinx, hello from Missouri. Glad to be here fresh off the dock. Hilarious. Thank you, Angelica Jinx. I appreciate you coming in. Ms. Woozy, hello from PDX, Oregon. We've got people from all over. I love this. I love that we have so many people from all over coming in to the chat. This is amazing. The docket is here, hand up as always. He always is like, hello, here I am. And here he is. Look at that. My hand goes up over the neon A. Let me know what you guys think of the neon A. Dandy Lioness, hello. She says hello to Susan B and Angelica Jinx. Hannah UK says, made it safe. I'm glad you made it safe. Mel Mack is reminding everybody to like and subscribe. Thank you for reminding everybody. And if you're watching on replay, I forgot to shout out the replay viewers. Everybody, if you're watching on replay, thank you so much. I love it when I go into the comments and people are watching on replay. It's awesome. Dandy Lioness says, Colorado in the house. Jennifer Smith says, greetings, everyone. Crime Dog. Hey, all. Love that name. So let's get into this. We've got a lot of docketeers here tonight. Oh, Hella Excited Utterance is here as well. Oh, hey, good morning. She's in Australia. So good morning to you, Hella. I'm going to scroll down through a few more comments. It seems like we got a lot of people hopping in. I don't want to ignore anybody. So if I don't get to you right away, please, I apologize. Do not take it personally. Under Your Scars. Hello from Ontario, Canada. Hello, Under Your Scars. Hello. Thanks for coming in from Canada. And Hannah from the UK is here. Hello from England, live on a night shift. Love that. Shelly is here from Montana. Gosh, could we get like all 50 states? Would that be amazing? Teresa T is here from Virginia, and she loves the Neon A. I love that. Great Dane Mom is here from Boise, Idaho, the land of BK potential jurors. Yes, that is true. That is true. I got to tell you guys about something later, too. Teresa is here from Pensacola, Florida. Natasha is here from Washington State. We might just get to that 50 states, guys. And Seashells is here from Michigan. Wow. Mel Mac loves the Neon A too. Loving this. Hella Excited Utterance says the holiday Monday is only in some states, guys. Some states have their King's birthday holiday in June. I have it in October. Go figure. That's interesting. All right. All right. All right. Okay, guys. We got Ian Blake here from Maryland, and we've got another Missouri person, Palm Beach, Florida, Psychosaurus Rex, California, New Jersey, and we've got a Pennsylvanian and Texas. Guys, we've got a lot of states here. This is exciting. Maryland, North Carolina, Texas, Kentucky, Arizona. Gosh, this is amazing. Well, thanks everybody for joining in. All right, so let's get to it. So, in Melbourne, Australia, just hopped into Cincinnati, Ohio. Thanks so much, Carrie from Cincinnati, Ohio. I appreciate you joining in. That's totally cool. Thank you so much. All right, guys. So let's get to it. We are going to talk about the latest in the Bryan Kohberger case. Okay, so he is back in court on June 18th. The day before Juneteenth, which is a federal holiday. So all of the courts will be closed. And of course, Bryan Kohberger, his trial is expected to start with opening statements on August 11th. I actually attended what's been called a media town hall about a week and a half ago. The courts held this meeting for the media. There were digital creators, YouTube creators in there as well. And it was just laying out kind of the rules for what was going to happen during the court or during the trial. They wanted to be able to answer our questions, things like that. And basically they were saying that members of the media were going to have to enter like an electronic lottery pool to get into the courtroom the day before. There was going to be seating for Bryan Kohberger's family, seating obviously for the 4 victims' families. Bryan Kohberger, of course, has he stood silent, and a not guilty plea has been entered on his behalf by Judge for the murders of Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xander Kernodle. His defense team has said he maintains his innocence in these crimes, and opening statements are scheduled for August 11th. Jury selection is scheduled to begin with voir dire, at least that portion of it, on August 4th. So the questionnaires, there are going to be questionnaires in this case, and they are being kept under, seal. The judge is being very protective of these questionnaires. The media will not get to look at a blank questionnaire. There are some cases I've covered where we request a copy of the questionnaire, like a blank one, just to see what it says. No way. He's keeping this thing totally secret. And so the jurors will fill those out at the courthouse before that time. They'll weed through those, probably go through, and the attorneys and the judge will probably go through all of those questionnaires beforehand and be like, okay, these people, here's the stack of the people who are just totally, we're not even going to consider them. We just can't even question them. We can't even consider them for voir dire. Then the voir dire will start on August 4th. That's when the voir dire will start. So I am sure, here we've got a super sticker. Thank you so much, Ian, for the super sticker. That's very sweet. I so appreciate that. Guys, if you want to support the channel, you're more than welcome to do that. It's very kind, Ian. I appreciate that with a super sticker or super chat. Very sweet. Not required, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. So, but back to the questionnaires. Hi, True Crime with the Sarge. True Crime with the Sarge is in the house. He just popped in. Welcome, welcome. So they'll weed through. They'll use the questionnaires to basically weed through and find the people that they absolutely just cannot bring in for voir dire. Then they will start that process. The defense has already filed a 40-page motion to continue, basically saying we cannot do this. We can't do this trial. And they went through a litany of reasons why this trial should not start when it is scheduled to start. I mean, Judge Hippler has essentially told them, this thing's starting. We are not moving this trial date. So she went through a long list of reasons why. And I think she mostly did this for the record, but then the Dateline bomb landed in their lap with all of that stuff that happened. And so then she had extra ammo to put into her motion for a motion to continue. She puts in all the stuff about Dateline, how prejudicial it was. That's a whole nother issue because the judge, he was mad. He wants an investigation into who leaked this information to Dateline. It sounds like it was all legit info. The judge basically has said he thinks somebody from the state side of this leaked this info. He thinks it was law enforcement or a former prosecutor or a former member of law enforcement. He believes it came from them. Dateline had information from Bryan Kohberger's cell phone. So they had sources. So he had basically already told Ann Taylor, we're not moving this thing. Well, then that bomb drops in their lap. And I think he was so mad that I think he has become a little more sympathetic to the defense side of things. And so there is going to be a motion to continue a hearing on this on the 18th. Now, the prosecution has not yet responded to this motion to continue. And I'm assuming they will. They've got a lot to respond to. It was a 40-page document, and it's not like Ann Taylor just cooked this thing up overnight. She had to have already been working on this. Then the Dateline special airs, and she's like, oh my God, she's already working on this indexed 40-page thing that she was going to file for the record. And, then the Dateline happens, and that gives her a little bit more ammo. She's saying, look, there's a James Patterson book that's going to come out right before jury selection starts, like 14 or 16 days before jury selection starts. That's going to be prejudicial. God only knows what else is out there since somebody leaked a bunch of stuff to Dateline, basically saying our client wanted to be Ted Bundy and, basically leaking a lot of the state's case. So, Hella. Okay. I assumed, Hella, that there would be a response. Of course they were going to respond. Um, so you're saying so it's on the case summary and it just hasn't dropped yet. Okay, I've been checking and checking. I didn't check yesterday. I was up to my eyeballs and other stuff. Yeah, okay, so it'll hit on Monday then. So it'll hit on Monday. So it's on the case summary. Sorry guys, I didn't check the case summary yesterday, as I said, and I should have checked it, but Lori Vallow had me like I was up to my eyeballs, like I was up to here in Lori Vallow. I thought I had my crime fix all done, and then her getting kicked out of court and all this just like blew up my whole podcast. So I had to like redo it. So we will so the state, of course they responded because they always do. They would have to respond. So they're of course going to be like, no, this thing needs to go. And so we'll see what happens. On that date, there will also be a sealed hearing. We won't get to watch it, unfortunately. Thank you, Tisa. You're so sweet. Tisa Tells is in the house. This is amazing. She says, of course they want to delay. Great analysis, by the way. Thank you, Tisa. You're so sweet. And thanks for the super chat. That is way too kind and very generous. Thank you so much. Very, very kind. Tisa is like amazing, guys. You guys should all go subscribe to Tisa Tells YouTube channel. I've been watching her for a while now. And she's at the Diddy trial, okay? She is at the Diddy trial, Sean Combs. And I actually don't usually call him Diddy. And there's a reason why. Do you guys want to hear why I don't call him Diddy? I don't know if I'm kind of going on a tangent now. And some people get really upset when that happens. I read in the comments. But, I mean, stuff happens. We're live here, right? But I don't call him Diddy because this is why. After the nightclub shooting, and I've talked to people about this, after the nightclub shooting in 1999, he was Puffy then, or Puff Daddy, whatever you want to call him. I'm actually working on a crime fix episode about this for Law and Crime. And I really wish, guys, I've talked about Sean Combs on my channel before. I've done lives, I've done some videos, and it's just people, I guess it just feels like people aren't that, at least the people on my channel aren't that interested, and I don't know why. And I think it's a really important case. And I wish people were more, at least on my channel, were more interested in it. And I know you guys have tuned in to listen to me talk about it. And I so appreciate that. I'm not trying to complain or anything, but it's just not gaining traction on my, among my, viewers. But I do, whenever I've talked about it and you guys have tuned in, I really appreciate it. But I think it's a really important story for many, many reasons. Sean Combs is somebody who was able to come from very little and build himself up to become like he was at the top of the entertainment business. He was a powerful, powerful guy. Okay. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember. And Sarge, are you still on here? Sarge, you were probably at the NYPD when the nightclub shooting happened. When that nightclub shooting happened, I remember when that happened, you know, and that was a big deal when that happened. And Shine to this day says that he basically was the scapegoat for that. And so back then, you know, he was dating Jennifer Lopez. They take off after this shooting happens. I mean, she gets taken down. I actually interviewed that guy, the hip hop cop guy. I forget his first name. Sarge, you might know him. But, you know, J-Lo's down at the police station. She's up and coming and she's getting questioned or whatever. And, you know, Shine says like he was the fall guy. Like he didn't shoot anybody. It was Sean Combs. So he was Puff Daddy then. And it's my understanding he's Puffy. Like that was his nickname ever since he was a kid. His nickname was Puffy. And so the reason he started calling himself Diddy, this is my understanding. If I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. It was all to remake himself and remake his image after the Derek Parker. Yes. Thanks, Sarge. Yeah. Thank you. Derek Parker, the hip hop cop. I interviewed him about all of this for Crime Fix. After that trial and after he was acquitted and he felt he was able to like charm the jury, he stopped going by Puff Daddy or Puffy or whatever. And yeah, he's like all about image and projecting. Like this is part of what made him very successful is that he is able, he's like kind of a PR wizard or whatever. Maybe that's not the right way to describe it, but that was part of him like remaking himself. So he literally, no pun intended, dodged a bullet with the nightclub shooting thing. The woman who was shot in the face swears to God to this day that it was Sean Combs that fired the shot that wounded her and that he fired the gun. And so, yes, he was acquitted. But Diddy, he like renamed himself Diddy. This is all about him remaking himself. And I also talked to an attorney, Joe Richardson, who's really super smart guy. And we talked about this on a members only stream on Law and Crime. Like, and it just seemed to me like after that nightclub shooting and after that trial, he was able to like remake himself and pivot. And all of a sudden, he was no longer a bad boy. Like he turned him. That's like when there was this. It just seemed like this major pivot, and he turned himself into the businessman. Sean Combs, the businessman, the Sean John. And T said, "Please tell me if you agree with me on this. I mean, I don't want to act like I'm, you know, I don't want to like be like not telling the truth here. But I just feel like." Calling him Diddy is like, is it being part of a lie? Even though that's like part of what how he remade himself. So he turned into Sean Combs, the big businessman. I mean, he's like hanging out with Martha Stewart. Like, you know what I mean? Like Martha Stewart, you know, yeah, she got in some trouble for whatever she was doing with lying to the feds about stocks or whatever. Hella says, while you're going on a tangent, can we talk about Becky Boo? I feel like if I go on too many tangents, I'm going to get a bunch of like mean comments. But I feel like I just don't like calling him Diddy. Like we can call him Diddy if you want. I just call him Sean Combs, or I call him Combs. And like, it's funny because everybody that during the trial, the testimony, they call him Puffy, and everybody can call him Diddy if they want. But I just feel like it was part of like this whole PR pivot that he did after the nightclub shooting. This is my feeling. I could be wrong. You guys can not, you guys can like disagree with me if you want. I always say everybody's welcome in here, but I just wanted to say that. And again, Tisa, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Yeah. So he was just able to like, and I'm not convicting him. I'm not convicting him of these charges or anything, but we've heard some really horrible stuff in this trial. It's been awful. Somebody's calling me Tangenette. So I just think there's been some really disgusting stuff in this trial. A lot of people, there have been back and forth about whether he'll be convicted of RICO. They only have to show that he was part of 2 predicate offenses. It could be arson, it could be bribery, it could be, you know, like forced labor. They've kind of shown that with the assistance, the sex trafficking, things of that nature. So, Tisa, thank you again for the super chat. Okay, guys, let's get back to Bryan Kohberger. Hi, Nomad. Carrie says, this is your YouTube. We are here for the tea. I appreciate that. I've got some tea. All right. So let's get into the tea. Sean Combs represents the worst of the music business, and it's all fake and image based. It also makes me so sick. Right. So I like that's what everybody calls him. They call him Diddy, but I feel like, and people can call him Diddy all they want. That's their prerogative. But I'm just giving you the history of it, of where like his name pivots come from. It's always about like changing of the image and stuff. So, it is interesting during the trial, everybody either calls him Sean or they call him Puffy or Puff. Anyway, whatever. I'm not trying to go on a big tangent. So let's get back to Bryan Kohberger. So they're going to have the objection. Thank you, Hella. And thank you. Somebody else mentioned that they filed the objection. I've been waiting and waiting. And so somebody's True Crime with the Sarge says he calls Sean Combs. I call him Johnson and Johnson. Hilarious. I kind of joked at work one day. I literally said at work one day, I was like, I heard that Johnson and Johnson's stock took a hit when he got arrested. I mean, seriously, how much baby oil is this guy buying? But at the same time, I'm kind of getting sick in the trial when I'm reading the transcripts every night of hearing about the damn baby oil. Like, can we stop with the baby oil? We get it. He likes to use a lot of baby oil. It's disgusting. Sarge, maybe I need to bring you on one night to talk about Combs. Maybe that's how I get more people to listen to me talk about him. So anyway, I got a lot to say about Sean Combs. I really do. It's just really sad to me because he could be a force for so much good, and it's really upsetting. Anyway, and the way he treats women is awful. I'm a big fan of treating women right and properly. I'm a woman. I like women to be treated properly and well, and not like the way he does it. So guys, let's get back to all this. So the defense is wanting their continuance in the Bryan Kohberger case. And, I was talking to Philip Dubé about this, and he basically thinks that because of the dateline and because they probably do legitimately maybe need some more time, even though they have met their deadlines with their experts and everything like that, that he feels they should give like a 90-day continuance. So the state, is going to be like, nah, baby, nah, they're ready. They've had plenty of time. No, we're ready to go. We are not putting the brakes on this thing again. But keep in mind, the state, one of their people, the judge even thinks so, leaked basically all that stuff to Dateline, which I'm a news person. I like it when people give me information too. But as I showed you guys a couple weeks ago, Keith Morrison basically said, yeah, like we have basically we think we have all the evidence in the case. Like, so it sounds like almost somebody gave them like a hard drive and was like, here's our case. Like, here you go. Like, here's everything from Bryan Kohberger's phone, even if it's not admissible, which is crazy, meaning the jury may never see it. And it will be interesting to see whether or not the judge bars some of that evidence. And if it wasn't admissible in the first place, the jury was never going to see any of it. I have some suspicions about who may have leaked that stuff. Plus the James Patterson book that's coming out. A lot of those people who talked to James Patterson may have talked to James Patterson and Vicky Ward. Vicky Ward's the journalist helping him. They may have done that. They may have talked to James Patterson and Vicky Ward, thinking that book would come out either during the trial or after the trial, because the trial was initially scheduled to begin this summer. So, or maybe they just don't give a damn if they violated the gag order. I don't know, but I think it's kind of nuts, because if you're like anybody involved in this is like the biggest case of your career, and you got 4 kids 4 college kids slaughtered in their house, and you're basically playing with that. You already moved the trial to Ada County. So I think it's crazy. So the states filed their objection. Thanks everybody who told me that. Appreciate it. Because I've been keeping an eye on that. As I told you, Lori Vallow totally just made my day go crazy yesterday, getting kicked out of court. So I had to redo Crime Fix at the last minute because that's on Pacific time and we're on Eastern time. So things got crazy yesterday. And so, they're going to have that hearing on the 18th. They're also having on that day the sealed hearing about the defense wanting to do here's our offer of proof on pointing the finger at other people for these murders. That's going to be sealed, guys. You won't get to watch that. We don't know who they're accusing. It's just all speculation. Wait, do I get cut? So the docket, that's very sweet. Cuss word tip jar officially started. Does that mean if I cuss, you're going to give me money? Wow. Interesting. Okay. Thank you so much. I didn't mean to curse. If I did, I apologize. I think I did say the D word. Is that so? Gloria Fritz. Hello all. Okay. So here's the thing that happened this week. The defense in this case wants people from Pennsylvania to testify. So these are lay witnesses. I'm going to pull up one of the documents. There are 5 witnesses. True Crime with the Sarge has got a bunch of cursing going on. I wonder if the Sarge should come on. Sarge, should you come on and go through this with me? This is hilarious. The docket says every time I say a cuss word, someone tips $2. Hilarious. Gosh, I should be rich by now if that's how life worked. But anyway, the defense wants people from Pennsylvania to testify. I'm going to pull up these documents. So here we go. Is this not going to let me? Oh, it's got slides 1 and 2, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. So this is a summons for a woman named Maggie Sanders. And she's being told, hey, Maggie, get down to the courthouse on June 30th. And so basically, these are out-of-state witnesses. So the defense for Bryan Kohberger went to Judge Hippler and said, we've got witnesses in Pennsylvania, and we need you to issue subpoenas for them. That tells me that these witnesses are basically saying to the defense, they're probably not oh yeah, I'm going to totally get on a plane and I'm totally down to come to Idaho. Pardon me. I'm totally down to come to Idaho and get, slammed for being a part of this case. And that's what they're saying. They're not. So they're being told, you have to come down here and tell us why we shouldn't issue a subpoena for the state of Idaho to make you go there to testify in this trial. And so if these people were yeah, I'll totally come and testify, then I think that wouldn't be happening. So I think that's what this is. Sarge, do you agree with me? So there are 5 witnesses, one of them being this Maggie Sanders. And they went to the judge. So this is interesting. There are exhibits attached to this, which were filed under seal. No, they're no longer under seal in Pennsylvania. Idaho, the defense exhibits are no longer under seal in Pennsylvania. The Idaho exhibits are no longer under seal. So this was an ex parte sealed certificate of an Idaho district judge. Let's start over here. So, the 4th District Court in Ada County is constitutionally and statutorily a court of record in the state of Idaho. There is a criminal proceeding pending before this court at case number CR blah, 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 Kohberger's case. The defendant in this case is charged with 4 counts of murder in the first degree and 1 count of burglary under Idaho law that is punishable by death. I'm the judge assigned. This is Judge Hippler. And the trial is scheduled to begin on August 11th and run through November 7th. So Maggie Sanders lives in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and she's a material witness for the defendant. For the reasons stated in the affidavit of Alyssa Masseth, the presence of Maggie Sanders is required at the Ada County Courthouse in Boise, Idaho. Under the laws of the state of Idaho, if Maggie Sanders comes into this state in obedience of a summons requiring her presence at this trial, she will not be subject to arrest or service of any process relating to matters that arose before she entered the state under the summonses. This certificate is made for express purpose of being presented to a judge of a court of record in the state of Pennsylvania in support of an order to compel the attendance of Maggie Sanders at the time and place and for the reasons stated above. So this was filed in March. We're now in June. So this has been kind of sitting around for a while. So here's the subpoena. And they've said to Maggie, I don't want to share her address. Sorry, guys. You are hereby commanded that laying aside all excuses, you appear in the district court of Idaho. Let's skip ahead. I don't want to show her address. So basically they're saying you're going to get fined like $100 if you don't show up. And so it sounds like Maggie doesn't really want to go. Maggie doesn't want to go. And it sounds like Brandon Andriola, he doesn't want to go either. So Brandon is somebody who I would say is around Bryan Kohberger's age, and he's a real estate agent. I looked him up. So he's probably somebody who's known Bryan Kohberger for several years. I'm guessing that these people are more than likely people who are lay witnesses in the penalty phase. That's my opinion. There's been discussion about, Ann Taylor has also mentioned in some of these hearings that it's taken a long time for them to really break through and get people in this case to talk to them and people to cooperate with them. So a lot of these people are probably like, I am not going to Idaho and getting up on that stand and testifying for Bryan Kohberger when he's viewed as public enemy number 1 by so many people. Like they don't want to do this. So they're like, we're going to have to like force you to do this, to come in. And if we get to a penalty phase, tell that nice story you told us about him. And we're going to ask you about how you don't want to be here when you're on the stand. You don't want to be here because look at this. Like, who would want to do that? So Brandon is a realtor. Let's go to the next one. Susie, these did not just drop today. I got these on Thursday afternoon, really late. They came into my email. The court in Pennsylvania is actually pretty good. It stinks they don't have cameras in the courts in Pennsylvania. Like when Luigi Mangione got arrested, boom, bam, documents in my email, like, oh, here, they're going to have the hearing at this day and time. I mean, if only Pennsylvania had cameras in the courtroom, oh my God, I would be so happy because they're so good about sending out the documents. That guy that was accused of setting the fire on Passover at the governor's mansion, boom, documents right in my email. I was like, This is amazing. But yet they won't put cameras in the courtroom. Stinks. So here's our next person, Ralph Vecchio. I need to look a little more into Ralph Vecchio. But Ralph Vecchio is someone else who's being asked to come in. There's been discussion by Ann Taylor, or maybe it was Alyssa Masseth, actually, because I think Alyssa Masseth is the one who's doing all the mitigation stuff. She talked about how he volunteered at the Special Olympics. There was also something about him helping save somebody's life once, and how he didn't understand that that could be mitigating evidence. So maybe these people have something to do with that. No, he was not the boxing coach. The other guy is the boxing coach, I'm pretty sure. There is a boxing coach. The guy, that's Harris, I think, Jesse Harris. So the other two people, one is Jesse Harris. I believe and if I misspeak on this, guys, I apologize. Jesse Harris, who owned the boxing place where he trained. And then Ann Parham, she was a teacher. So she was somebody who taught him when he was younger. Oh, interesting, Hella. Hella, which one was that? Which one was the salesman? So basically, these people are probably people who are not just like, yeah, I'll hop on a plane, I'll Johnny on the spot, get there to Idaho and do this for you. These people are probably like, yeah, you're going to have to subpoena me. Or their lawyers were like, yeah, you're going to have to subpoena them. They're not going to do this. Like, they're not going to literally be like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll get right on the plane and do this for you. So, but so that's what's going on there. These people, unless this is resolved before then, there's going to be a hearing on June 30th where they are going to have to show up, I guess, with an attorney, with their lawyers at the courthouse, and show why they shouldn't be issued a subpoena to go to Idaho. So, and then the defense will have to pay their way. They're not going to pay their own way. Thank you again, the docket, for the super chat. I'll look it up, Hella. I'll look up the name. It's one of those people, I'm sure, possibly. Texas Ranger says, can't they do it through Zoom or something? I don't think they're going to do that in a death penalty case. That there would really have to be some kind of extenuating circumstance, I believe, in a case like this, to bring a witness in via Zoom. I mean, maybe during COVID that would fly, but not for this. They're not going to do that. Maybe if somebody's like sick, maybe they would permit that if somebody's, battling illness of some sort and travel is just not possible. I don't know, something like that. Yeah. Northwest says rarely are criminal witnesses allowed via Zoom. Yeah, I think there would have to be an extenuating circumstance. Like, as I said, COVID, really, super bad illness. Like, oh, I'm, battling cancer and, I'm super sick, whatever. There would have to be some kind of major circumstance. Psychosaurus Rex says, in California, most courts won't let you testify in front of a jury via Zoom, but bench trials and hearings, they allow it. Right, because you have the right to confront your accuser and there's a jury. So if it's a bench trial, it's different. You're still getting to confront your accuser, but with a jury trial, I think it's different. Yeah, it's funny. ALR says taxpayers will have to pay, unfortunately. And you're right. They are going to pay for this. And how much this is costing the taxpayers is being kept under wraps. It's really unfortunate. But I'm guaranteeing you that this is expensive. The whole thing is expensive. Guys, I really appreciate you tuning in. Please remember, when you come in. I appreciate that. Hit that thumbs up. It helps the algorithm for the video. The thumbs up. Please subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. Again, I'm going to be doing some of those videos, the standalone videos. I've been trying to do some of those throughout the week. So please let me know what you think of those and if you'd like me to do more of those. And remember to hit the like and subscribe on those as well. And if you are watching on replay, thank you so much for watching on replay. I always love it when I see that you in the comments watching on replay. And remember to let me know if you're watching on replay. I love that. I try to go through all your comments and heart and like and respond and thumbs up and all of that. PKC says, you're welcome from an Idaho taxpayer. It's costing you guys a lot. But 4 people lost their lives. And it was horrible. You know, I know what I've said about my theory on this whole thing. I think there was one person targeted in this, but I think it spun out of control. Oh, thank you so much, Kimberly. Kimberly says, you look very pretty today, and Jeanette, love your hair. Thank you. This is my weekend hair, which is called, I literally brushed it and it was like going out like this. And I put a bobby pin in to pull my hair back because my hair, if I don't like do anything to it, is like out to here, which is fine. It's totally cool. I'm down with it, but it's just not like the best thing ever. Psychosaurus Rex says, I had subpoenaed to fly across the country to testify for 20 minutes simply because attorney assumed I wouldn't be able to make it. So state would stipulate to defense's expert instead. Surprise, I went. Texas Ranger, are you agreeing with me on the one target thing? I can show you guys why I believe that. I've believed it for a long time. We can do a whole nother live on that. I've got video. I believe Maddie, I've said it for a long time now that I believe she was the target. I think that the person who committed these crimes went to her room looking for her and did not anticipate or expect 2 people. I did not anticipate Kaylee being in that bed. And I think things went, not that things did not go the way the person who carried out these crimes intended. And I think it just all, you know, not that any plan is horrific, but I think it all went, I just think it did. I have an idea of what I think the plan was, but I think it all went sideways. So, hi, Drunk Turkey. Thank you so much for coming in. That's so sweet of you. Thank you so much. I thank you for coming in. JJ's asking, do you think Bryan did it? I am not going there. There is a trial to be had. That is not my determination to make. I am saying, based on what the surviving roommates have said, based on me being to the house on multiple occasions and just kind of walking around and looking at all of it, me standing in that back parking lot at the Queen Road apartment and getting to see right in to Maddie's bedroom, the sheath being on her bed next to her. I think all of these things in my mind lead me to believe that she was the intended target. So I think there's still evidence that we need to see. I need to see the evidence in court. So I'm not going there. That's the jury's decision to make. I'm telling you what I think, or who I believe the intended target was, based on what I know from looking at the scene and walking around there and trudging around in the snow through that place and just surveying it and then piecing things together from um, the surviving roommate, what she heard and what it sounds like the order of things was according to her account of how we know her, what we know about her account, because we still haven't heard everything about her account of what she says she heard. So that's what I'm saying. Kimberly said, you must have had the chills going in and around that house. You know, it's just when I was there the first time, when I was in Idaho the first time, it was scary. And I say that, and I usually don't get scared. I usually really don't get scared. I had my photographer and we were together and I felt very safe with him. However, it was just like the beginning of December and it gets dark really early there. I think it was getting dark at like 4:15, 4:30 in the afternoon. And I was interviewing the PIO from Idaho State Police and they had nothing. They had no clue who did this. So I could tell in his answers, I knew obviously they always know more than they're telling you, but I was like, they've got nothing. They have no clue who did this. I could just tell by the, stuff he was saying, the PR speak. I'm like, they have no clue who did this. And so I was like, if they've got no clue who did this, I've got no clue who did this. And I'm in a place where I know nobody. And my photographer and I are walking around in the dark trying to interview people when everybody, for the most part, is staying in their dorm rooms and in their wherevers doing their classes remotely because they don't want to go outside. Or they've gone home and they're finishing their classes remotely because the university knows everybody's scared out of their wits and doesn't want to be there. So I'm like, at one point I looked at Christian, it's like 6:37 at night and we're trying to get people to talk to us. And it was hard. It was difficult. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, it's dark and they have no clue who did this. And we don't know who did this or how many people are involved or if it's more than one person. We are going back to the hotel. like how do we know we're not going to like happen upon this person and just, 4 people were sliced and diced. I mean, it was like a horrific crime scene. Like, you don't know. They were like, oh, well, we think this was targeted. Well, of course you can think it's targeted, but that doesn't mean that this person isn't just some person who's like it doesn't mean this person's in control. So you got to be careful. That's kind of how I felt about it. So I made sure we were careful. That's for sure. I was like, yeah, we're not staying out much past dark anymore. So I would just go back to the hotel. They had room service and I would order room service and just eat in my room because I was like, we don't know what the hell's going on with this. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, we shouldn't be out traipsing around after dark. And we would drive over to Pullman too. I forget why we drove to Pullman, honestly. I can't remember if we went to Pullman. We must have gone to Pullman after the arrest, actually. We had to have gone to Pullman after the arrest. We stayed in Moscow the first trip to Idaho. Yeah, so we had to have gone to Pullman after the arrest. There was no other reason to go there. So, True Crime with the Sarge says he has to go. Okay, see you later, Sarge. You and I should come on and talk about this again together sometime. Okay, so Texas Ranger, when was I there? I was in Moscow first week of December 2022. Then I went back after the arrest, or when the arrest happened, like literally the arrest happened and I went back. So I would be there when he was there, when he got back. And then I was there for the arraignment. That was May of 2023. So I think those are the 3 times I was there. I think I was only there 3 times. I'd have to go check to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that was it. Did I just walk in or have to get permission? I'm sorry. What do you mean, Nomad? Guys, I'm going to switch gears really quickly to Lori Vallow because that stuff was nuts. So Lori Vallow is on trial right now for the conspiracy to try to murder her niece, Melanie Pawlowski, her ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux. Lori Vallow Daybell, of course, as you all know, is the doomsday cult mom. She was married to Chad Daybell, who was he thought he was some kind of prophet, self-proclaimed Mormon prophet who came up with all this like craziness about, the end of times and the light and the dark. If you're close to God, you're light. You're on this scale, the light scale, you're on light. If you're with the devil, you're dark. So they have both, Chad's on death row in Idaho for murdering his wife, Tammy, and Lori's children, JJ, poor JJ Vallow, and Tylee Ryan. Lori is doing 3 life sentences for those same murders. Plus, she was convicted a month and a half ago of the conspiracy to murder Charles Vallow, her estranged husband, back in 2019. He was the first victim in all of this. And so Lori is on trial, accused of conspiring with her now deceased late brother, died of natural causes, Alex Cox, conspiring with him to try to murder Brandon Boudreaux. So this whole thing, she's representing herself. It's off the rails, off the chain, off the rails, whatever you want to call it. Lori's a mess, and it was a mess in court yesterday. The Judge Boreski, finally had enough, totally had enough. So let's watch a little bit of Lori questioning Brandon. She cross-examined him. Just for people who haven't been following this, Brandon got into a big fight with his then wife, Melanie, in June of 2025. She didn't want to go to his grandfather's funeral. And Lori was like a mother to her because her mother died when she was younger. So Lori was like a mother to Melanie. Lori had accused Brandon of hacking into her computer and had apparently planted this idea in Melanie's head that Brandon was gay. And so June of 2019, they get into this big blow up fight that lasts, like this argument that lasts all day long. And so then they separate, they decide to get a divorce. He didn't want a divorce. He wanted to work their marriage out. They have 4 young children. October of 2019, Brandon Boudreaux, he's got a rental home because they're selling their home and they're going to split the proceeds of the sale. He's driving home from, he'd gone to the gym, went to a meeting. He's driving to his rental home that nobody knew where it was except Melanie. Melanie's the only person who had the address to this rental home. He pulls down the street and he's like, oh, that's weird. There's a Jeep with Texas plates there and it's running. That's weird. Oh, that's weird. And it's parked on the wrong side of the street, like nose to nose with a white van. He's pulling down the street in his Tesla to go into the garage. And all of a sudden, boom, he hears a noise. Somebody took a shot at him from the Jeep. Prosecutors say that was Lori's brother, Alex Cox. So he keeps going. He's not hit, thank God. He's not hit by a bullet. Prosecutors say it was Lori's Jeep. Melanie is listed. They've named her a co-conspirator and they're investigating Melanie. So Melanie's probably going to get charged out of this. She's the only person that knew where Brandon was living at the time. So let's look at a little bit of Lori cross-examining. Hi, Tayo Toys. Cross-examining Brandon Boudreaux. And then I'll show you what happened during some of this. I'll probably turn it on 1.5 speed so we can move along.
Examination of this witness.
Your Honor, when Robert Abernathy gets here, he has some photos and things I need to have marked. So can we stop for a minute when he gets here to do that? Okay.
Just have him go right up to the clerk when he gets here. And
Okay. Mr. Boudreaux, you and I met in 2009, is that correct?
I believe we met in 2008.
Okay. Before you got married, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you got married in 2009, is that correct?
Your passport to flavor is one trip away. At Jungle Jim's International Market, you can try foods from all over the world, and you don't even have...
I believe I was married October 31st, 2008.
Okay. But that's when we met, is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
So we've known each other a long time, is that correct?
A long time can mean a lot of different things.
Since 2008?
Correct.
Okay. And we had a familial connection, is that correct?
Yes.
And we always had a friendly relationship, you and I, is that correct?
I wouldn't say always.
Okay. Until what time?
Until probably end of 2018.
Okay. And we spent many holidays together.
We did.
And you and Melanie were married a little over 10 years, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I was there at your wedding, is that correct?
Correct.
And I came to Utah to help you when your first child was born, is that correct?
I'm going to object to relevance.
I'll allow it. Go ahead.
Correct.
And I was there when your second child was born, is that correct?
You were not present when my child was born, but
Well, I came to help and watched Braxy, so I was there.
you visited you were with my family. Correct.
Okay. And I flew in from Hawaii when Blake was born to help with the kids, and I watched them while you and Melanie were at the hospital, is that correct?
Object again to character evidence.
Sustain.
And I did watch the kids when Breezy was born as well, is that
Your Honor,
correct?
I'm going to object and ask
Sustained.
to go into 405 soon.
And we went on vacations together, you and I, is that correct?
Gonna-
Ms. Vallow, okay. Move on to relevant information, okay? You've established you have a relationship with him that's close family relationship since 2008. So go ahead.
And you came to visit me in Hawaii a few times, is that correct?
And Your Honor, I'm going to object.
I'm just asking in the sense that it was him coming to me.
All right.
There's things that happened there that I'm going to.
Approach.
Okay.
Okay, guys. So here's the issue. Lori's basically, she's walking up to the line here, and Lori is basically saying, she's like trying to get Brandon to be like, oh yeah, like we knew each other, like because in her opening statement she said like, I've always had a really good relationship with Brandon, like basically like I've never had a bad relationship with him and all of this stuff. Now look at Judge Boreski right here. I've muted this because they're at a sidebar, but look at Judge Boreski. They're at a sidebar. She's up there with her advisory council. His hands are going. Now they're going back. Obviously, I've got this on like 1.25 speed, so we can speed this along. But the judge is like explaining to her what she's doing wrong. So here we go.
Brendan, you and I had never had an argument with each other. Is that correct?
That's not correct.
Okay, when did we ever have an argument? You and I.
I'm going to object to relevance. If there's something specific about that, are we talking in 10 years?
I'll overrule it. You can answer.
The most recent argument that I would say we have is when I was texting you in June.
That was June 25th, 2019. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And had you been upset with me before that time?
Are you talking about ever in our lives?
Yeah.
I'm sure we're all human. I'm sure there was times I was upset with you.
Is there something specific that you were upset with me about before the June 25th text messages?
I'm going to object to relevance if there's something more specific.
Sustain.
Were you upset with me about Juice Island?
And I'm going to object as to relevance and 404.
Sustain.
Brendan, you had mentioned before that Melanie and I were close. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you were aware that I loved Melanie. Is that correct?
I can't say if you loved her or not.
It was
2020.
2020.
Yes.
Thanksgiving, playing card games.
Yes. My daughter had just gotten her ears pierced. We didn't have any earring options that were great. We collectively put our minds together and hip hop was.
But you saw that over the 10 years that you were married to her, right? You witnessed it with your own eyes.
What is it you're asking that I witnessed?
Me loving Melanie.
As I said, I can't state what you did or did not feel. I can't say what you felt.
But I acted in a way that was loving towards her, in as far as you knew.
I'm going to object again to relevance, 404 and 405 character evidence.
Sustain.
So we were all together as a family frequently, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And there were times when we were at your house as well as my house, is that correct?
An objection to relevance.
Sustained.
And until you sent me that text message on June 25th that we read yesterday, you and I had never had any disagreements with each other, is that correct?
I would not agree with that statement.
You and I had ever had an argument?
Can you ask that question again?
Did you and I ever have an argument?
And again, as to foundation of when,
I'll allow him to answer. You can answer.
I'm sure we had, I don't know how you would define argument, but disagreements.
Face to face, you and I? Before the June 25th?
Hold on.
That's all I'm asking, just before
Okay,
that.
maybe rephrase it.
So by the time we met in 2008 until June 25th, 2019, did you and I ever have an argument?
Is there something you're looking for that you're trying to specify? And I'm not sure I can, that's a broad question that I can't think of a specific time where we argued face to face, if that's what you're looking for.
Correct. So you and I have never had an argument in our lifetimes.
I wouldn't agree with that. I would say that there have for sure been disagreements between us, but I can't think of a specific time that I could share where me and you face to face argued. I'm not a confrontational person.
Okay. You've known me for all these years. Am I a confrontational person?
and I'm going to object to character
So-
evidence under 404 and 405.
Sustained.
So you're seeing like Judge Boreski is like sustained, like, hey lady, like you are we just talked about this. So what they're talking about is like character evidence, because she's basically trying to get Brandon to say like, you're a really great person. Like, we always had a great relationship. We never had any bad stuff going on. So here's a little more.
Would you agree that I supported you as a husband and a father to your children?
I'm going to object to relevance.
Sustained.
So in your testimony yesterday, you talked about this long argument that you had with Melanie. Was that on the same day, on June 25th, 2019?
It was.
Okay. And you said it was a long argument. How long did that go on?
It started in the afternoon and it went through past midnight.
So several hours?
Yes.
And you remember this date because that was the day you sent me those text messages, is that correct?
I wouldn't say that's the only reason I remember that date. It's a painful date.
Okay. So you remember that date specifically?
Yeah, I do remember that day.
Okay. And you had mentioned that this argument started as a result of Melanie not wanting to attend your grandfather's funeral, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you were aware that Melanie had trauma with all funerals because her mother passed away when she was 9, is that correct?
Object to relevance.
I'll overrule the objection. He can answer if he knows the answer.
I can't say why Melanie was feeling the way she was feeling. I'm not Melanie.
But you know she had an issue with funerals before your grandfather passed away.
As I said, I'm not Melanie. I can't say what she had an issue with or not.
But you're aware that her mother passed away when she was 9, right?
Yes, I'm aware her mother passed away.
And that she had to go to the funeral.
I'm going to object to relevance.
I'll sustain it at this point. Go ahead. Next question.
But she's your wife of 10 years, so you knew that about her, is that correct?
And again, I'm going to object to relevance, the same
Same.
question.
It's completely understandable that you would want your wife at your side at your grandfather's funeral, so a disagreement between a couple would begin over that issue. That's not
Objection to
far-fetched, right?
testifying.
That's a statement. Can you, if you want to phrase it as a question, go ahead.
So your argument began because of this issue with not wanting to go to your grandfather's funeral, is that correct?
Yes.
And was Melanie upset or crying at that point?
No, just me.
Okay. So during this long, several-hour disagreement, you would have covered a myriad of topics, is that correct?
Can you define a myriad of topics?
Just several different things probably came up during this very long argument.
We talked about several different things, yes.
Okay. And one of those things I had come up in the conversation, is that correct?
One of the things that came up was you getting your temple recommended and me hacking your computer.
So I'm saying I was brought up in that long conversation just the one time?
I don't know if I could say just the one time. It was quite a long time we spent on that particular topic, which was bothersome.
Okay. So as you were trying to change the subject, Melanie was going back to that?
As I was trying to understand why it was important to her, she focused very much on the subject, yes.
Okay. And you had stated before that Melanie saw me as a mother to her, is that correct?
I said a mother-like figure.
Right. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that your mother-in-law would be brought into a very long argument, is that correct?
Objection, speculation, relevance.
Or someone close to your wife?
Sustain.
But I was not the focus of that entire argument, is that correct?
My focus was my family, my wife and my children. I love them and I didn't want them to go through pain.
So he's trying. So Brandon is, some people just tuned in and said, what is this? So we have been talking about Bryan Kohberger. Now we're talking about Lori Vallow Daybell representing herself in the trial to where she's on trial, accused of conspiring with her brother to try to murder this man, Brandon Boudreaux, who was the now ex-husband of her niece, Melanie, who was like a daughter to her. So If you're just coming in, please give me a like, a thumbs up, please. I appreciate it. So this is it gets crazy because Lori always has a way. Obviously, she's on trial here, but she always brings things around to herself. Like, oh, so this about me? Was this argument about me? And so she always does that. Somebody brought up the green chicken chili enchiladas. It's so funny you brought that up because I'm wondering, does he know about that? And is she going to bring that up? Would be interesting if she asked him about that, but I don't think that came up.
Is that what you spent all those hours arguing?
Yeah, because I love them and I wanted to work through things with my wife. Yes, I didn't spend it for any other reason.
He's trying to save his marriage.
And during this argument,
And she's wondering if
there were
it's
several issues
talking about
that you
her.
discussed. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And one of those issues was Melanie informing you of text messages that she had viewed?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Is one of those issues a video of you on Facebook dancing at the pink pony that Melanie showed you?
Object to relevance to 404B evidence and 403.
So basically, she's trying to imply that she's saying that there might have been a video of Brandon dancing at a place called the Pink Pony, and that Melanie may have viewed this. And there was discussion about Melanie possibly thinking that Brandon was gay and that Lori had possibly planted that idea in Melanie's head. It's crazy.
Sustained.
Did Melanie show you a video of yourself
Object
during
again
that
to the same
argument?
manner.
Sustained.
What else was discussed in this argument?
Objection, relevance, foundation, something specific.
I'll sustain the objection.
How many topics would you say were gone over during this long argument?
I couldn't say.
So until, did I ever answer the text messages that you sent to me?
I never received a reply.
Were you at that point blaming me for that argument? In your mind?
This is horrible. Missing teeth causes a range of different problems.
I think that the only people who can be responsible for ourselves is ourselves, so I was focused on myself and my wife.
Okay.
Okay.
So that argument ended up beginning your divorce proceedings, is that correct?
At the end of that argument, she told me that she needed a divorce, correct?
And who filed for divorce?
I did.
And when was that?
In July.
Do you know the date that you filed?
It's complicated because I went and met with a mediator, but she didn't file the paperwork for a while. So I guess it depends on how you define who filed for it and when.
Okay. Did you file it with the court? Like file for divorce with the court?
A mediator did.
Okay. Oh, so you don't know when she actually put the paperwork in, is that correct?
Correct.
When did you meet with her? Do you remember that?
I do.
What day was that?
In July.
But you don't remember which day in July?
We met several times.
Okay. Did you meet with her on your own, or did you and Melanie just meet with her together?
We met with her together.
Every time?
Yes, every time we went together.
Okay. And that started in July?
Correct.
And do you know when that was final?
Mid-October.
And you were able to come to mutual agreements during that time with the mediator?
Can you give me more? What are you looking for specifically on that?
I'm just saying the mediation was completed, so you came to your agreements. Is that correct?
We filed for divorce, so yes.
Okay.
What's so wild to me about this is that Lori, and thank you, Dolly Talk, thank you for the $2 super chat for the YouTube Premium Fund. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I really do. That's very sweet. And Hella followed up with a $2.99. YouTube Premium is worth it. XO. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you. I'll definitely look into it. Yeah, I feel like I'm being way too thrifty now that you guys are giving me super chats for this. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I will check into the YouTube Premium. I feel like I'm being like, does that just get rid of ads completely? I'm assuming. I don't know how that happens, but anyway, sorry about that. Basically, it's like, this is why you don't represent yourself. Lori is making this way too personal, and she's like fishing for all this information that probably makes no difference whatsoever. Oh my goodness. We say howdy here. $1.99 for YouTube Premium, please. Thank you. You're very sweet. Oh my gosh. Wow. Look at everybody. Everybody wants me to get you YouTube Premium. How much does YouTube Premium cost? YouTube Premium, LOL, does save time and annoyances. Okay, cool. So no ads. All right, guys, I'm totally gonna get the YouTube Premium now. I feel like I'm way too thrifty. I'll speed up the let me speed up the thing to 1.5 because you guys got to see this. Lori is just being too personal about this because that's who she is. It's just, this is like the green chicken chili enchiladas all over again, but on a different level. With her, when she brought that up with Adam, it was just so personal and ridiculous. Like, for whatever reason, this is all about whatever Lori's beef with Brandon is in her head. And because she basically suggested in her opening that Brandon could have possibly staged this himself, like that he owned a gun, that he gave the detective all this information. He did this, he did that. It was crazy. I was watching it and I was like, wow, yikes.
So when was it that Melanie moved into the rental house from the house that you were living together in?
I believe I moved her on July 14th, I believe. I'm not certain.
Okay, sorry guys. I will totally invest in the Premium. I apologize. Here we
And then
go.
you stayed in the house until what date?
Until my home sold.
When was that?
We got it under contract in September, beginning of September, and closing was October 1st.
Okay. And when did you move into your rental house? What day was that?
Mid-September to late September. Might have been in the 25th, 24th, 26th, somewhere in there.
And then you had a schedule with the children, is that correct?
Can you ask that question?
I'm just saying you had agreed to a schedule with the children, is that correct?
Part of our divorce, we had a schedule, yes.
And so on October 2nd, all 4 children were with you, is that correct?
It depends on what time you're speaking about.
Well, they spent the night with you, so they would have woke up with you on October 2nd, is that correct?
On October 2nd night, they slept with their mom. On October 1st night, they slept with me.
Okay. That night turned into October 2nd, is that correct?
If you're saying October 2nd in the morning, then yes, that would be, my kids would have still been in my house in the morning.
Yes, okay. And then you had taken them to school, is that correct, in the morning?
Correct.
You said that you guys got up, you had food, you were getting ready.
Yes.
Normal, typical morning, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then you dropped off your 2 oldest at their elementary school, is that correct?
Correct.
And then you took Breeze to her mom and dropped her off at the park, is that correct?
Correct.
And then you took Blake to his preschool and dropped him off. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then where did you go from there?
I went to the gym.
What was the name of your gym? I'm sorry.
EOS.
And you worked out for, you said, an hour to an hour and a half?
Yeah, I wasn't watching it super close, so I can't tell you exactly how long it was.
Okay. And then you drove straight home. Is that correct?
From the gym, yes.
Now, on that day, you had an interview with Detective Pillar. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that the first time that you met Detective Pillar?
Yes.
Was on that day on October 2nd, 2019?
Correct.
And in that interview, you told him basically what had happened. Is that correct?
I answered the questions that he asked, yeah.
And you told him all about Melanie. Is that correct?
It's a pretty broad question. I don't know that I could say that I told him all about Melanie.
So you discussed Melanie. Is that correct?
We did, yes.
And you discussed me. Is that correct?
We did, yes.
And he had asked you kind of what happened. Is that correct?
He asked me what happened? Yes, he asked me what happened.
And you talked about your divorce. Is that correct?
We did discuss parts of my divorce, yes.
And you had told Detective Pillar that someone had convinced her that you were gay. Is that correct?
Can you ask that question again?
You told Detective Pillar that someone had convinced Melanie that you were gay.
I can't remember if I specifically told him that someone had convinced Melanie that I was gay. I would have to review the conversation I had with him to be able to say for certain that's how I worded it.
Okay. Do you recall telling him that she has a friend named Lori? Melanie?
I did not say she has a friend named Lori. No.
You didn't? Would you like to look at your interview?
I
To refresh
said
your
that
recollection?
I said that she has an aunt named Lori.
Would you like to review this to refresh your recollection?
Sure.
Okay.
Is it, she has an exhibit she needs to approach with.
So Lori is basically, she's playing a lawyer. She's literally, would you like to review your transcript to refresh your recollection? I'm going to skip ahead because he basically said this is that has to be a transcriptionist error. I would not have called you a friend. He said that transcriptionist person would not whoever transcribed the interview probably made an error. So she's getting all personal. Like, you called me a friend. I'm her aunt. I'm her mother figure, so she's getting all personal, taking it all personally. And she's basically like trying to act like he's secretly gay and he doesn't want anybody to know. I think that's basically what she's trying to get at too, or at least, because he's Mormon. They're all Mormon. And so I think she's trying to say he was hiding something or whatever. This is my opinion of where she's going with this. I'm skipping ahead, guys, so you can see the drama.
I convinced her.
I'm going to object to hearsay at this point.
Is that correct?
Here. Let's go over to here. Let's go over here. So I'm going to switch over here, guys, so you can see when Lori gets the boot.
All right, please be seated. The jury is no longer present. We've concluded that sidebar. A record's been made. I would just caution the defendant again. She needs to be very careful, and she's getting into areas that could open a huge door that I don't think she wants open. I'm going to make another record at 10:24 to 10:25. We held a sidebar that I don't think made it onto the court record. That sidebar again discussed similar issues of if the defendant brings in evidence or testimony that she was a good person and no ill intent and those sorts of things, and specific acts of her being a good person, it could open the door to other things that she may not want. The state, the defendant, and advisory council were at the bench when we had that short 1 minute sidebar, but I don't know if anyone wants to supplement the record on that. Ms. Cade?
Just, Your Honor, that again, the state did raise any issue of character evidence under 404A and 405, that if the defendant opens the door and tries to advise that she's a good person, a peaceful person, a kind person, a loving person, any of those other types of things, that we believe that would allow us under 405 to then bring in specific acts, such as the murder of her children, her husband, and her current husband's wife.
All right.
Which would also be 404B that they withdrew.
No, it would be
Yeah,
405.
they withdrew it, but if you bring up 404 that you.
Then all 404B is in, or do we get a hearing on what 404B can come in? If I open the door, do I get a hearing? We stop trial and I get a hearing on.
Look at her getting all sassy with this judge. This judge has been like a saint with her. He's been so patient. I feel like he has the perfect tough temperament to deal with her. Hello, beautiful messy ball. Thanks for joining. I'm so sorry you slept late, but I'm glad you're here. So let's back it up, because the sass on this is amazing. So let's back it up a second and watch it again.
Things that we believe that would allow us under 405 to then bring in specific acts, such as the murder of her children, her husband, and her current husband's wife.
All right.
Which would also be 404.
So all these murders that you've been convicted of, you're looking to open that you're bringing up character evidence about what a great person you are and what a great relationship you had with Brandon. You're literally opening the door to all this character stuff and about how you've been convicted of all these other murders. So you're dancing up to the line is what he's telling you. And watch the sass. Look at her throw this sass at this judge.
4B that they withdrew.
No, it would be
Yeah,
405.
they withdrew it, but if you bring up 404 that you.
Then all 404B is in, or do we get a hearing on what 404B can come in? If I open the door, do I get a hearing? We stop trial and I get a hearing on.
Stop. We'll have a very short hearing, okay? If you're going to introduce how you character, we're going to have a short hearing on what evidence that they can bring in to rebut that character, which could include being convicted of 4 murders.
And
So
would you
talk
like?
to your advisory council during the break. And
You don't need to yell at me either.
yell at you, okay?
Yeah, you are, and you do not need to talk to me that way. I'm
Take her
very
out.
courteous.
Take her out.
I'm very courteous to you.
Take her out. No, you have been nothing near courteous to me during the course of these proceedings. Talk with your advisory council about the rest of your cross. We're going to resume in 15 minutes.
The #1 head shaver for busy men.
So there you go.
Loves his new Baldy Pro.
Yes, I love.
Unfortunately, guys, we'll play it one more time, but it really stinks because the judge wasn't close to his mic. He was standing up. So, and I can't really boost I've got the audio turned up as loud as I can get it, but I would boost it higher if I could. But yeah, it stinks. I can't get it higher than that. But she sassed that judge who's been so patient with her. Watch it here. We'll watch it one more time.
That she's a good person, a peaceful person, a kind person, a loving person. Any of those other types of things that we believe that would allow us under 405 to then bring in specific acts, such as the murder of her children, her husband, and her current husband's wife.
All right.
Which would also be 404B that they withdrew.
No, it would be
Yeah,
405.
they withdrew it, but if you bring up 404 that you.
Then all 404B is in, or do we get a hearing on what 404B can come in? If I open the door, do I get a hearing? We stop trial and I get a hearing on.
Stop. We'll have a very short hearing, okay? If you're going to introduce how you character, we're going to have a short hearing on what evidence that they can bring in to rebut that character, which could include being convicted of 4 murders.
And
So
would you
talk
like?
to your advisory council during the break. And
You don't need to yell at me either.
yell at you, okay?
Yeah, you are, and you do not need to talk to me that way. I'm
Take her
very
out. Take
courteous.
her out.
I'm very courteous to
Take
you.
her out. No, you have been nothing near courteous to me during the course of these proceedings. Talk with your advisory council about the rest of your cross. We're going to resume in 15 minutes.
All right. So Lori gives somebody in the gallery a look like, yeah, okay. Just
All
so
right, the
everybody's
defendant can
aware,
start her cross-examination of this witness.
just so everybody's aware, Lori is wearing a stun belt. The judge ordered, or the sheriff recommended that. The judge ordered it. So she can't act up, or she's getting like 50,000 volts, and it's a remote controlled stun belt. So she can't go crazy physically or anything, because guess what? She's getting zapped if she does anything that could be like a furtive move or like put somebody in danger. And that thing, I've covered cases in the past where somebody had that on. They also make them in leg cuffs or a vest. I covered a case once in Cincinnati where the judge, basically they had to bring some guy over, a serial killer, for a resentencing hearing. It was a horrible case. And the judge stood him up because they'd have to bring him over in the restraint chair. He refused to come over in the mornings. And he stood him up in front of the everybody, and before the jury came in, and said, "You've got this stun belt on. You start acting up, you get zapped with that thing, you're getting 80,000 volts. And guess what? You're going to defecate yourself. You're going to urinate on yourself, and it's going to be in front of everybody. Is that what you want?" So that would probably happen to her. So then the cross, we'll watch like a little bit of the cross, the resumption of the cross, and we'll, Hella, thanks for saying you would send me an audio booster. I'm assuming that can be done like digitally. So, you know, and somebody mentioned Lori's curls. I was told she kind of uses like, there's all this stuff in jail you can do. And she was a hairdresser. She does like stuff like wrapping toilet paper tubes, like, or something like that, to get the curls in her hair. So, oh, thank you so much for the super chat, Johnny Knoxville. Don't tase me, bro. Hilarious. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's watch it, like a little bit of this, and then I'll wrap it up.
Your Honor, when Robert Abernathy gets here, he has some photos and things I need to have.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is the beginning.
Can we stop for
I guess this is not resuming the cross. I apologize. So this is like something else. I apologize, guys. Oops. I'm going to go through some of your comments, and then we'll wrap this up. Again, Johnny Knoxville and everybody else who's contributed on a super chat, thank you so much. That's very sweet. Ms. Woozy says she rolls all of her denied appeals and uses them to curl her hair. Possibly. Emily Flotilla says, "Good evening, baking flatbread, can't chat, but sending hellos to all." Thank you. Somebody else said something funny. Dolly Talk says, "Lori's family has very, very distinctive hair. I was at the last trial and could easily see who was related." Interesting. Yeah, maybe she's got some natural wave in there too. But somebody told me that it was like an author. It was an author I interviewed, and he said he had all of these like secrets about her beauty secrets. And he told me something about her using like toilet paper rolls to wrap her hair up. Dawn, the rabbit hole to hell, says, "Is she being tried for the murder of kids and husband here, or another murder? I don't know this case really." She's already been tried for all those other murders and convicted. This is for the attempted murder, the conspiracy to attempt to murder Brandon Boudreaux, the ex-husband, then husband. He was the estranged husband at that time of her niece, Melanie Boudreaux Pawlowski, who is a co-conspirator. She's been called a co-conspirator by the prosecutor. We don't know. I need to clarify something I said earlier. We don't know if Melanie is going to be charged ever in this. So we just don't know that. Apparently she's been investigated. She knew the address, according to the prosecutor. So I just want to clarify that. Squeaky Wheel says, "I've got a cotton mop standing up in the corner over there that reminds me of Lori for some weird reason." Beautiful Messy Ball says, "All you need is a decent pair of tube socks a few pair of ankle socks for a nice head of heatless curls. I mean, her hair does look, it doesn't look bad for jail hair. I'll give her that. Von Krul likes the Neon A. Thank you so much. I finally unpacked it. I got it from Amazon like a month or two ago and forgot to unpack it. So I was like, I saw it in the box today and I'm like, oh gosh, I need to get that thing and see how it looks. The A kind of like takes away from the Pope. So I'm going to have to do some redecorating Tayo toys with my little books, my small, tiny books. Johnny Knoxville says, book idea, Lori Daybell, Beauty Secrets. CH says, Anjanette buying a sheath, a balaclava, and an A. For real. That's my, I mean, God, if somebody saw my Dick's Sporting Goods and Amazon history, a Neon A, a K-bar knife sheath, and a balaclava, you'd be like, what is wrong with this woman? What is going on with her? Yes, Von Krul, library for ants. This is my ant library, my tiny books that Tayo Toys likes to point out. Lucy Morningstar says, Lori has nice jail hair for a crafty as she is with hair. She sure did a dumb thing putting her kids in the yard of her next husband. Don't you think? That one through. Now she did. Yeah, she's crazy. Hella says, oh my God, clipped. Johnny Knoxville says, Anjanette is the suspect Ann Taylor has been talking about. But I didn't buy my sheath. My Amazon click history will show you I looked at sheaths. I looked at them, but I did not buy them. I clicked on them. They did not put them in my cart until well after the homicides. So that click history stuff is going to be crazy at trial when they bring in some expert. If they bring in some expert who's like, oh yeah, AI, blah, blah, blah. Like Hitler's like, when he said AI made me do it. Oh my God, it's just going to be like, that's going to be bad. Like, that's not going to look good. I got to hear more about that. And how they're going to explain if they are going to go with somebody stole his, like, I need to know, are they going to say somebody stole Kohberger's sheath out of his car? Like if because they're like all of the court papers have indicated that the defense expert has said, yes, indeed, it's Kohberger's DNA. So the question is, and Ann Taylor has said in the hearings, how did the sheath get there? It's a movable object. That's what she said. So what are they going to say? What are they going to say? Like, do they have a theory about how a knife sheath with his DNA got there? They might say, we don't know. We don't know, and we don't have to prove that. But I mean, that's a really bad piece of evidence for the defense. So they've talked about all this secondary transfer and this, that, and the other. I mean, you've got the Amazon click history. I'm going to be interested to see how they do this. And guys, guess what? I am keeping an eye on the objection from the state to the continuance. I'm keeping an eye on Lori in court this week. And so we're going to talk more about it. And if you want me to talk more about Sean Combs, I can do that. It's just that it's not been resonating on my channel, and I'm sad about that. But if you want me to do that, please let me know, because I do think it's an important case, and there's been some craziness going on. So everybody, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to shut it down for the night. It's been so much fun. We kind of like went on a winding road here tonight, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad everybody likes the Neon A. Remember, give me a thumbs up. If you're joining late, give me a thumbs up. Even if on the way out, you're just joining or whatever, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I'm trying to reach like 7,000 subscribers. That's my next big goal. Tell your friends, share, whatever. I really, really appreciate everybody joining. I appreciate all of the super chats. I appreciate everybody watching. If you've been watching on replay, thank you for that so much. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to the docket. Thank you to Melmac. Thank you so much, everybody. I might do something tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. I got a lot to do, to get ready for the work week. So thank you, everybody. I have loved hanging out with you tonight. Have a great night. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.